Morning, Officer Kasanova.
Good morning.
I'm just going to ask you a few questions, but the first question is I wanted you to identify the picture that's in front of you. Do you see a picture?
I have a blank screen.
Okay.
Now I have a picture.
Okay. Is there any way, based upon just that snapshot of your body cam video, as to whether this is your video?
I can't say for certain.
Okay. Let me move forward. And just stop me if you see anything that makes it clear it's you.
This does appear to be my video. I recognize my watch.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to go ahead and play this video.
We have to identify it.
Sorry, Your Honor, that would be identified as Defense Exhibit 86, I believe.
I have an 86.
87.
87? Do you wish to have it in evidence?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, which approach?
Okay. So 87 will be introduced into evidence without audio. Does this need,
And sir, can you,
I'm sorry, does this need to be under seal? I don't know what it has on it.
I don't believe it does, Judge.
He does not go upstairs.
Correct.
Judge, I hate taking the risk, but I do not believe that Officer Casanova goes upstairs in the house. I believe that he remains on the first level.
Is that correct, Officer Casanova?
I never entered the house.
Never entered the house.
Perfect.
Okay, so.
Judge, maybe we
so-
just approach about one other thing that I might see on there.
We're going to enter it without audio, and we're going to make it under seal for the moment. Okay, thank you.
Sir, can you please state your name and spell your name for the court reporter?
Sure. I'm Robert Casanova, Casanova.
And you've indicated that this is your video based on your watch.
Yes,
Okay, and we're going to watch this without sound,
okay.
okay? And from time to time, I might stop it and ask you a question. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Sir, we pause for a second there. Is that you arriving at the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At 8:56?
If I can ask the court to clarify for the record, counsel referenced 8:56. That would be the marker on the video, not the time of day.
Right, the time of day actually says 8:14. and
It
the time-
was 8:56. I was showing the marker on the video, Judge.
Just the marker.
Reference for the officer.
Right, and the time on the video of the actual time would be 8:14. Okay.
Thank you.
Officer, at this point, as you're walking toward the house, were you given any direction as to what your duties were going to be at the scene?
Not at this point. I just asked Officer Batani, sitting on the sidewalk there, if he needed any help. And then I think that's Officer Hernandez, I asked him if he had crime scene tape, and he advised he was going to get it.
Okay. At this point, had you been given any instruction as to what you should do?
Yes, my supervisor had asked me to take over from, at the time, Sergeant in Training Bell.
Okay. Sir, is this the end of your contact with Juliana Peres Magalhães?
I believe I check on her a couple times, but for the most part, yes.
Okay, in the car?
Yes.
Sir, ultimately, when she left the scene, was it in your cruiser or in the cruiser that she's sitting in right now?
I'm not sure which cruiser she was in, but it was not mine.
Okay, you know that it wasn't you.
Yes.
What, other than checking on her, were you given any other duties while there?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Other than checking on her, which you've testified to, were there any other duties that you began after she was in the car?
Yes, after a short while, I took over traffic control duties, restricting vehicle access to the roadway.
Your Honor, this is 2545, and that's, those are all my questions for this officer.
All right, so just to be clear, then you would just want 87 in evidence up to 2545, correct?
Yes.
All right, and that'll stay under seal then, okay. All right, thank you. Cross-examination? All right.
No
Is this
questions.
Is this witness subject to recall?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you're free to go, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Your next witness?
Your Honor, may I just check with Detective
Sure.
Byerson? There's Sergeant Brian Ames.
Sergeant Ames?
Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law? Thank you.
Good morning, Sergeant Ames.
Good morning, sir.
And are you a sergeant?
I am.
Okay. Where are you currently, what's your current station?
I'm in the IB, sir.
Okay.
Internal Affairs Bureau.
And during the period of time, February 24th, 2023, through the end of 2024, where were you assigned?
I was assigned to DFS in November 2024 to February 2025. Before that, I was a street supervisor.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to have you take a look at some exhibits. Here, and I'm going to use the
Okay.
overhead if I can.
It's fine, we'll switch over to that. You just have to hit the button on the top. Okay.
Sir, can you see that document?
I can, sir.
Let me just straighten it out. Are you familiar with that document?
Sure, yes, sir.
Okay. I'm specifically looking at, and I'll just put my pen in there, at this particular area. Is that something that you authored?
I did, sir.
And so the sign out is Ames. That's you?
That is me.
And this is your title here.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is it that you're doing here with regard to this communication?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the witness reading from the item. It hasn't been identified or offered in evidence.
I don't think the question was to read it.
No, it was not to
Okay,
read it.
all right, I'll overrule the objection at this point.
What were you doing? This appears to be an email thread. What were you doing?
Looking at the email, it looks like I received something from Lieutenant Giosio, and I was sending it out amongst the people who work for me. It looks like I CC'd my captain.
Judge, I am going to object. He's reading from the letter. If his recollection of this email is such that he can testify to its contents, then certainly.
So it'd be a foundation objection.
Yes,
Sustain that objection.
And sir, this is an email that you authored and you sent on to your colleagues, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd move this in as a Commonwealth's Exhibit number 88.
Any objection to that?
No.
Okay, 88 in evidence, and we can
Now, I would
publish
just
it
like
to the
to
jury.
ask you another question. The people that you were saying you were writing to were people that were within your section, is that correct?
It looks like I CC'd my commanders and two of the detectives that work for me.
Okay, and the two detectives are both named Brendan Miller?
Yes, sir.
And is one of those detectives the digital forensics analyst for this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and he's obviously in your section. And is this officer in your chain of command?
No, sir.
Okay, what?
Your Honor, counsel's making reference. He said this officer. I'm not sure who he's speaking
If you
about.
could, just
I
for
was
the
just
records.
pointing, yes. I won't point, sir. David Giosio, it says Lieutenant David Giosio.
He was not in my division.
Okay, and yet he's communicating you regarding, what is it he's communicating about?
An executive summary?
Okay, is that Brendan Miller's executive summary? Do you recall?
I don't recall, but looking at this, I would have to say.
Judge, I'm going to object to any further answer. He does not recall.
No, overruled. You can finish answering, that's fine.
You can finish answering, you were saying, but looking at this.
It appears to be an executive summary.
Okay, now, was there a particular executive summary that Brendan Miller completed that was at issue while you were there in cyber security?
There was no executive summary issued while I was there. I was only there for 4 months, sir.
Okay. Was there, were you aware of any disputes with the executive summary, either within your division or another division?
I know that executive summaries are written on every case.
How about this case? How much contact did you have with this case during your time there?
With this case, not very much contact at all, sir.
Okay, and so what we're seeing is this extent of your contact?
Pretty much, sir.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to take 87 off, and I'm going to have you look at,
Judge, I believe that was 88.
I'm sorry?
Is that correct? He referenced 87.
Oh, sorry.
That was
Did I
88.
say-
We just did 88, yes.
okay, then that was 88 that I took off.
Right.
I'm going to identify what will be marked as Defense Exhibit 89. Can you see that email?
I can't.
Okay, and is that appear to be an email that you forwarded on?
It is.
Actually, you know what, I'll just let you tell me what it is.
It looks like Lieutenant Giosio forwarded a proffer to me,
Okay,
and then I forwarded on to my detectives and CC'd my supervisors.
okay, and you said a proffer, or are there two proffers there?
I don't know. Normally the system works where you get two different angles. I can't recall
Okay,
if that's one or two.
so you never examined those proffers?
No, I'm sure I clicked on them before a meeting, but I don't recall if it's two separate parts or if it's just two angles.
Okay, and where you sign off as Ames, that's you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Sergeant Brian Ames, all of the things relating to that were correct as of the time of this writing on
Yes, sir.
November 8th, 2024?
Yes, sir.
And you're CCing, I assume, superiors?
Chain of command, yes, sir.
Chain of command, okay. And Brendan Miller and Brendan Miller are the two people that this is directed to.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, they're in your chain of command. Would that be an order that you're providing them? Here, I move this in as Commonwealth's Exhibit 89,
Any objection?
No.
All right, 89 evidence?
if we can have that published.
I mean, yes, I guess since I'm their supervisor, if I send them that, I guess it could be perceived as a command, but that's not really the way it works. It's their detectives looking at a case.
Okay, so let me ask you a question about that. By saying their detectives looking at a case, you're saying you leave the detectives alone to do their thing?
I'm saying that I had 4 months there. I wasn't really caught up to speed on digital forensics. That's not my specialty. Like, I haven't been trained in that.
Okay, so you're a supervisor for the people that are trained and as
I am.
experts? Okay. And as a sergeant in your chain of command, are you being ordered to do something by the lieutenant from homicide?
I think I'm being asked to look at this, like this is the way information sharing would happen, is we're not homicide detectives over in that squad. We're kind of, we're a support unit over there, so that's how the information would come in.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, criminal investigations, cyber and forensics bureau is a support bureau for homicide?
Well, specifically to digital forensics is a support bureau for all the other bureaus when they have digital evidence.
Okay, and is it common for the lieutenants from other bureaus to communicate with you in this way, to have your detectives do things?
No, there's a lot of back and forth. Like I kind of, when I was in that position, I kind of feel the calls, send stuff up the chain of command, figure out what the detectives think are best for the case, stuff like that.
Okay, so you're going up the chain of command. Is it something related to the communications that you're receiving, or is that something that you would do with every communication?
Since I was a newer sergeant at the time, it was my understanding the expectation out of my command was to link them into pretty much everything that I was doing.
Okay, in the form of, in the immediate moment you received an email?
If I was doing ESRs, like they got them, if we had a case that was unusual, or if we had anything, like I said, I was a newer sergeant. It was my understanding, the expectation on me was to forward stuff up my chain of command. That is correct.
Okay, so this is commonplace, what these emails show?
I would say at that point, when I was in DFS, with me being newer, I looped them in on a lot of stuff.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, I've moved 89.
89 is in evidence.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to have you look at what will be marked as Defense Exhibit 90. Do you recognize that? I know you send a million emails
Yeah,
a day,
I
but do
send
you
an awful
recognize
lot.
this particular one?
Yes, this is my email, sir.
Okay, and this, and I'm pointing with my pen, appears to be you, that's the way you would sign off?
Yes,
And this would be all of the information that's accurate as to where you were working at the time?
yes, sir.
And what about this up here? What was that? Do you have any idea?
I don't know without seeing it. I mean, based on the context here, it looks like it's a timeline
Okay.
from Lieutenant Giosio
Okay.
related to the profer.
Do you know, and let me just call your attention to, and this is 89, correct?
That's 90.
90. Your Honor, I moved this in as Exhibit 90.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
90 in evidence and published?
Sir, I'm going to put 89 there next to it.
Okay, not published? Take it.
89 is in.
Oh, he's been 89, okay.
I didn't ask you about, with regard to 89. Do you know what that is?
I mean, given the context of this, it appears that it's a timeline related to this case.
Okay. And I'm going to have you look back at 88. Do you know what the attachment was on 88? And when I say do you know, I'm asking, did you open it or did you look at it or anything like that?
I mean, I'm sure I looked at it, but if you're asking me right now if I know what that is exactly, all I can say is I can assume that it's an executive summary that has to do with this case.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, on 88, you've added Brendan Miller's, I guess, B1 and B3 they're called?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On 89, you added Brendan Miller, and then CC'd your command staff?
Yes.
90, I don't see Brendan Miller. Would that have been forwarded to them, or is this just specifically for your command
That's
staff?
just for my command staff.
Okay, and so there wouldn't be an additional email to show what you sent to Brendan Miller and Brendan Miller?
I don't believe so, given the context of this. I don't believe I forwarded that, but I don't know.
This appears to be dated November 7th, 2024. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And let me go back to 89. This was dated November 8th, 2024, correct?
Yes, sir.
And number 88 is dated November 8th, 2024 as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm going to Sir, do you see that on your screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and same questions. Is this how you sign out?
It is, sir.
Okay, and this information is all correct?
No, that is, maybe I didn't change my, signature line at that point.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when my first day was up there,
Okay.
but that was my previous position.
Okay, and that's your email, correct? You authored that email?
It is.
Okay. And in this, just to point out a few things, November 8th, 2024, and it's to your command staff, not to the Brendan Miller and Brendan Miller. And there's an attachment, and that's the same, appears to be the same attachment as number 88. Is that I can show you 88 again if you'd like.
I mean, it appears the same, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
And this email is from Lieutenant.
I'm going to object to the leading.
Who's this email from?
I object to leading, and I object to the continued characterization of the items in the email that the witness has indicated he does not recognize and cannot tell the court or the jury what they are.
I understand. As to leading, I'll sustain leading.
Who's this email from?
Appears to be Lieutenant Giosio, sir.
Okay, and nothing's changed about his position or your position since we looked at 88, 89, 90?
I'm not sure why my title line is like that. I don't know. I believe at this point I'm in DFS, given the fact that I'm writing emails to that chain of command. I don't know why my subject line is different.
That's fine. As long as you can identify that as your email, that's fine.
That is my email.
Your Honor, I'd move this in as Defendant's Exhibit 91.
Any objection?
Yes, Judge, I'd object. It contains statements made by a party not testifying would be hearsay.
All right.
Your
I
Honor,
assume that's a hearsay objection?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would just identify that for now.
You just identify, you don't want to put it in evidence?
I won't put it in evidence. I'll put it in evidence when I call the next
Okay,
witness.
so 91 is not in evidence. Okay, next question.
Now, Sergeant Ames, in your training as an investigator, are you the type of investigator that follows the evidence, or are you the type of investigator that follows a theory before the evidence is developed?
Me as an investigator, I go with evidence.
Okay. As an investigator, when you question individuals that may be suspected of a crime, do you let them just tell you the story without challenge?
Objection is to leading.
All right, sustain as to leading, if you want.
What, if anything, do you do when you question a suspect in terms of their story?
I mean, I have a conversation with them, sir.
Okay. And if the conversation isn't consistent with the evidence that you have, how do you handle that?
I mean, if I have the opportunity, I clarify it.
Okay. And in clarifying, what is it exactly that you're doing when you have a dispute with, or a conflict with what you know versus what the person's saying?
Can you ask that again, sir?
When you have a situation as an investigator that you're trained to be, and the facts as you know them are different than what the person is saying to you in the story or whatever conversation you're having, how do you handle that?
I mean, if I have the opportunity, I follow up and ask questions that I need to know the answers to.
Okay. And would there be any reason that you wouldn't have the opportunity if you're talking to them?
No, I mean, defendants, if you're talking about a suspect of a crime, I mean, they don't have to tell you. You can ask the questions, they don't have to tell you if that's what you're asking.
Well, I'm just asking, say, let's assume that nobody's claiming the Fifth Amendment. There's just a statement based upon what the evidence you know. What I'm trying to get at is how do you get to the evidence to determine if what you know is correct through the person that you suspect is the criminal?
If you're asking what I do, I generally ask questions till I understand.
Okay. And in terms of the types of questions, how do you do that, or how are you trained to do that?
Judge, I'd object as to relevance. At this point, I'm not sure where we're going with this witness.
I think it's relevant to the investigations that would go on in any case, in any criminal case.
I'll sustain the objection as to relevance to this case.
In that situation that we were just talking about, would you challenge an individual or not challenge an individual?
Same objection, Judge, relevance.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay, I'll move on, Judge. You've seen Defense Exhibit 88, 89, 90 have been moved into evidence.
Yes.
91 has been identified by you, sir. Were there any other additional communications, either telephone or meetings, relating to the subject matter of these three exhibits that you know of?
This has been so long ago now, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, there quite possibly could be another email or text. I don't know.
Okay, I'm just asking if you know of something. I'm not asking for you to speculate.
I don't know.
During the time frame you were there, I think you said February 25 was when you left?
I believe it was February 25.
Okay. Had Brendan Miller, the digital forensics detective in this case, had he been transferred at that point?
I think he transferred either right before or right after I left.
Okay. did you have any role in his transfer, whether administrative or making the decision?
No, not making the decision. I think my role was figure out where Miller wanted to go initially and just be a first-line supervisor for him.
Okay. And would that include, would that first-line supervisor role, would you have a lot of contact with him?
I mean, I had contact with him every day.
Okay. And would the contact that you had with him be related to the Banfield case?
If things came up, yes, I would have contact with him about the Banfield case, but it wasn't, it's not like I'm doing forensics or anything. If questions come up, I generally shoot an email at my chain of command or stuff like that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not advising him how to go through data or anything like that. My job was, I had other things that I was doing, budgets and distributing cases, new cases coming in.
Okay. Did you have anything, were you a decision maker in his transfer?
No.
Do you have any idea why he was transferred?
I wasn't brought into those conversations. I pretty much was told that the decision had been made, I wasn't involved in those.
Okay. And was there anything that you were told about the decision that was made?
Not that I can remember. I mean, there was, right, it's a police department. There's rumors going around, but I don't know what would make the difference. But I don't know where the rumors would stop and what, I don't think I was told specifically why he was being transferred.
Okay. Well, I don't want to put you in that spot, so if you don't know. Were you aware of how the experience that Brendan Miller had? The one that was transferred?
I knew that he was I can't think of the terminology, certified, yes, I know that Miller is experienced.
Okay. And he'd been there for how long, do you think, prior to you leaving, or prior to him being transferred?
I don't know.
Okay. In terms of your making the decisions of assignment of cases, where would he be in the decision process for you?
I don't know what you're asking, sir.
Would he be one of the more experienced ones that you would assign to, or one of the less experienced ones?
The other Miller was kind of the person who I bounced what we were going to do. He was the other Miller was the more senior Miller on the squad, so I bounced most of my decisions off of him.
Okay, and then he'd assist you with that?
He would, yes, he would assist me in that.
And do you know how long he had been in the digital forensics section?
No.
Okay.
I know it was a while, but I don't know.
Okay. Judge, I don't have any further questions.
All right, cross-examination.
I'm going to leave 91 there, if that's okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Good morning, how are
Good
you?
morning, ma'am. How you doing?
All right, so just so we're clear, you weren't in digital forensics very long, correct?
I was not.
Okay, and you didn't get involved in any of the actual digital forensics involved in this case, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you weren't involved in Detective Miller's transfer,
No, ma'am.
and you weren't involved in Detective Miller's work on this case, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. These emails you've been shown, you just passed them on, is that correct?
That is correct.
They didn't require any specific action of you, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and those requests were to examine the evidence in this case in the context of new evidence that had been received. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you change, distort, or hide any evidence in this case?
No, ma'am.
Did you direct anyone to change, distort, or hide any evidence in this case?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, any redirect?
Sir, I appreciate your answers. Did you feel as though anyone was suggesting that you distorted, changed, or did anything to evidence based upon these emails?
No.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Is he subject to recall?
No, Your Honor.
No, ma'am.
All right, you're free to go, sir. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Your
Have
next
a good day.
witness?
Leah Smith.
Excuse me?
Detective Leah Smith.
Detective Smith?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law? Thank you.
Good morning, Detective
Good morning.
Smith. Can you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Leah Smith, Leahsmith.
And what division in the Fairfax County Police are you currently in?
Homicide.
Okay, and were you in homicide during the time of February 24th, 2023?
I was.
Okay, so you're familiar with this case, and the Banfield case, and the Juliana Peres Magalhães case?
I am.
Okay, and as a homicide detective, you're trained in certain investigatory techniques, correct?
Yes.
What are those, if you could just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
So we are gatherers of facts. We will respond to scenes, talk with patrol officers who have already arrived. They'll give us a briefing of the case. We'll identify people that we need to talk to, places we need to go, and gather other information and track down what information we have gotten, and if we need surveillance video, or go to stores and track back movements, identify people to talk to. We'll canvass a neighborhood. We'll talk with crime scene to figure out what needs to be done in their capacity and how that will work in our capacity. We will just gather all the information that we can and put together to the best of our ability what happened in a particular incident.
And how do the theories of cases emanate from an investigation?
So the best course of action when you're investigating a case is to collect facts and information. You don't have theories to begin with. You have an open mind going into it because you don't know what happened. And then you try to gather all of the information so that it gives you a clearer picture as to what happened.
And in terms of gathering the information in order to get a clearer picture for, I guess, the entire squad, what mechanisms do you utilize in order to make sure everybody's on the same page?
We discuss what we've done, who we've talked to, what information we have gathered or captured. If crime scene will let us know what they have. We usually have a detective who is with crime scene as they're doing their work, and they'll pass on information. If we have other entities doing work on our behalf or assisting us in any way, they'll provide information, and then that will be discussed amongst the squad so that we all have a full picture of what we know.
So beginning with February 24th, 2023, had you developed any theories on that day based upon what you saw at the crime scene?
No.
Okay. Give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury as to kind of what the timeline is for any theories that you may have had.
Personally?
Yes, as an investigator.
So I did not, and don't have or don't create theories as I'm investigating a case until I have all of the evidence that we can collect. And even then, a theory of the case and how it's going to be presented in court is really something the Commonwealth's attorney is going to do. They're the ones who are going to present it. So we will give them all of the facts and all of the information that we have, and whatever theory that's going to come from that is something that they're going to present to it. We do make a determination if there is probable cause to get warrants for somebody in a case. So in this particular case, I did not have a conclusion until we had all of the evidence in the room.
Okay.
The blood evidence and all of that stuff, that was really understood.
And, okay. What was the time frame on it, acquiring all of that information in order to potentially have theories? If you were those pieces came in toward the very end of the investigation. Okay. A full understanding of the sequence of events that we could tell and understand in the room that came toward the very end. Okay. But in terms of the hard evidence that's done, like DNA, fingerprints, digital forensics, when is the evidence available in order to arrive at conclusions or rule things out or any of those sorts of things?
That's a sliding situation. So things are submitted to the lab, and you might get information and lab sheets back in different times. It's not all given to us at once. And so having that portion of the investigation, you might submit something and then realize that you need to submit more things, or the lab will only take a certain number of things, and then you do a second submission. So then your lab sheets will come in as they come in, kind of in a longer time period.
And the decision process amongst the homicide investigators, is that just within the room of homicide, the actual investigators? Let me see if I can articulate that a little better. You've just described the gathering of evidence and the discussions. Would that be with the homicide detectives? Or who else would be included in that?
It could be anybody who's involved in the investigation. We do briefings with all the entities that are part of it. So it could be computer forensics, it could be crime scene. Our supervisors are there. If we're having, so it could be different meetings over the time period of the investigations. There might be different people who are present during those discussions.
And is it, would you describe the homicide group as being the investigators and the supervisors in another way?
The homicide detectives are the investigators, yes.
Okay, and just so it's clear for the jury, the chain of command going up, the supervisors, they're not investigators, correct?
They are not investigators, they are supervisors.
Okay. Did there come a time when supervisors were suggesting theories to the homicide investigators in this case?
So we had a briefing within the first week of the incident where we were discussing everything that everybody had done and the information that was collected. And our supervisor at the time told us there were 2 theories in the case and we needed to get behind the right one.
Who was the supervisor?
Lieutenant Smuck,
Okay. Who was in the room?
the homicide investigators, the detectives.
Okay, were there any other people?
I don't recall if there were victim services or advocates or our crime analyst or others who might be there during a briefing when we have just had an incident.
Was one of those theories catfishing?
It wasn't stated what the theory was. It just said there were 2 theories and you need to get behind the right one.
Okay, at some point, in order to get behind it, you had to know what it was. When did you find out?
I'm not sure who said exactly that it was catfishing, that was what it was. That's just what I had begun to understand and hear from other people.
Now, did you or any of your, well, actually, I can only ask you, what, if anything, did you do, given what you've just testified to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about your methodology, what, if anything, did you do or say after hearing that?
I told Lieutenant Smuck in the room full of investigators that at this point in time, nobody should have a theory in the case, that we are still at the very beginning and we should only be investigating and gathering facts and information.
And how was that received?
There was no response.
And did this meeting end? Did the conflict between your statement and the theory that was sitting out there continue in conflict after this meeting? Like in future meetings?
I would say that the investigators on this case knew to investigate with an open mind, even though that might not be along the lines of what the supervisors might have wanted us to look at, how the case to investigate a particular line.
Okay. And did there ever come a time, I know you said at the end of the case that the catfish theory went away?
Objection leading, objection, facts not in evidence.
As to leading, I'll sustain. As to leading.
When, if at all, did the theory of catfishing go away from this case?
I don't know.
Was that then, did it ever go away?
I don't know.
Okay. And would that be for you to know, or would that be someone else within homicide?
Judge, I'm going to object to the form of the question. I don't think go away is clear enough. I mean, obviously, we're here on a catfish theory.
What's your legal objection?
Judge, it form, that is an unclear question.
Overruled. Go ahead. You can answer. Remember the question.
Right, would you just mind repeating the question?
So what I'm trying to determine over the lifetime of the case, was the catfishing theory ever disregarded or put to the side?
No.
Was there, during the life of the case, was there periods of time where the homicide squad was not supporting the catfish theory?
So everything is on the table. I wouldn't say that it wasn't, we explored all options, and that was always on the table.
Okay. And when was it that in your mind, catfishing was confirmed or negated?
It was toward the end, I would say, that once we understood the full for the investigation, catfishing is maybe how you got to a point, but what happened in the room, in the bedroom, that is really what you need to figure out. That's the determination of who would be charged in the crime of murder. So once you understood all of that and what happened within the room, and then you have the other evidence of it coming forward and through the digital forensics and the interviews and all of this stuff, that decision was made on who to charge for it based on the forensics evidence.
And you charged Juliana Peres Magalhães in October of 2023, correct?
Yes,
So was it concluded at that point?
she was charged for her involvement in the crime. So she wasn't charged with Christine.
Right. And so was it based upon her recantation that Brendan Banfield was charged?
No.
In terms of the catfish theory, actually strike that, Judge. I don't have any further questions, Your
All
Honor.
right, cross-examination.
Good morning, Detective.
Good morning.
So you've told us that you conducted your investigation in a manner consistent with following the evidence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You explained to us that theories were certainly discussed, but that they did not drive how this investigation was conducted, correct?
Ultimately, no.
All right. Counsel asked you about this meeting where you were told and detectives were told that there were two theories and you needed to get behind the right one. You challenged that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did that statement impact how you investigated the case?
No.
Did you see that statement impact how your coworkers investigated the case?
No.
Your investigation was focused on who killed Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield, correct?
That's correct.
And you followed the evidence in your investigation, and that evidence led you to charging decisions, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Juliana Peres Magalhães was charged because you were able to prove that she shot Joe Ryan. The evidence supported that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Banfield was charged when? What was the turning point in your recollection of when Mr. Banfield was charged?
When we got the blood evidence back.
Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Detective Smith, were you ever feeling pressure to follow a theory instead of evidence in this case?
I did not.
You spoke out about it, correct?
Yes.
Did you feel pressure by command after you spoke out about it?
No, I did not feel pressure. I know what I have to do as an investigator. I know how to investigate, and no matter what they thought or the theories they wanted to put forward, that was not how I was going to investigate or provide mentorship or counsel to other investigators on the squad.
Did you raise that with other investigators, the appropriateness of command staff suggesting theories?
Yes,
And did you address that with the group?
individually as a group, yes.
And who was it that was applying the pressure to you?
Whoever was in charge at the time, at the beginning, Lieutenant Smuck, who made that comment in the first time.
After March 24th? March 24, 2024.
It would become from Lieutenant Giosio and Bruch. I think at the time it was a Captain Bruch.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, is this witness subject to recall? No? No? No, ma'am. All right, Detective, free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, since we started a little early, I'm going to go ahead and have our 15-minute recess now. All right, do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research. We'll see you in 15 minutes. Okay?
All right, the court is taking a break, about 15-minute break now. Court did start at 9:30 this morning, a little earlier than that usual 10 a.m. start time because of the snow event that we're going to be hit with this weekend.
These breaks could be a little longer because of that,
Sure.
because they're going to have a longer day. So we'll see, but at least 15 minutes.
Yeah, and so for those of you glued to this trial, welcome back into WUSA 9 Plus. I want to remind you that court sounds like will be held tomorrow as well on Friday.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
The jurors are available, so
That's
we'll
right.
find out soon.
So likely than not, court will probably go on tomorrow, and this is different, right? Because we were told that the proceedings would just be Monday through Thursday, and now tomorrow. So be sure to
and actually I can add that I just got an update from Matthew Torres, who's in the courtroom, and there will be trial tomorrow.
Okay, there you go. So
Friday trial.
And I presume 9:30 start like today.
Yeah, it'll
Somewhere
probably
in that
be
window.
in the 9:30 to 10 a.m. hour, so we'll get some clarity on that in a few moments.
We just went to break following Officer or Detective Leah Smith, and this was really interesting. Of course, we'll talk about the other witnesses, but a lot of the other witnesses sort of dragged on, but I think what Leah Smith got to was very important. She was the homicide detective on this case, and they really peppered her about this theory that was floating around the investigators, right? Let's clarify first the catfishing theory that was applied to this case.
Yeah. So the theory that they're talking about is the theory, if you will, that Brendan and Juliana created this fake profile for Christine Banfield on the FetLife website. They created a Gmail account, then created a FetLife username, and then lured Joseph Ryan to the home.
Which is what catfishing is.
Right, and that's
So
the
it's-
prosecutor's theory.
And we're all sort of familiar with what catfishing is, and so they're applying that catfishing theory to this case because that's what prosecutors say happened.
Right.
So the defense is really trying to find flaws in this theory and has officers from this investigation up on the stand to prove a reasonable doubt.
Right, and so what they were it's really centered around a detective who was called to the stand yesterday. His name is Brendan Miller, and he is the detective that was in the digital forensics unit at the time. He's no longer in that unit, and John Carroll has really been pushing the point that he's not in that unit because the officers above him, his supervisors. Did not agree with his theory of the case. So you have this catfishing theory, which John Carroll is saying the police department was really pushing, but then you have Detective Brendan Miller's theory, and I have his conclusion summary right here. We were able to get it from the court yesterday, and his forensics conclusion which I do want to preface by saying, he was brought on the stand yesterday and questioned about this, and he was questioned by both the defense and the prosecution. And I want to be clear that the prosecution, when she got up there, she said, you can't conclusively put someone behind the screens, and he said no. So keep that in mind. But we do have his digital forensics summary, and one of his findings was that he confirmed that Christine's phone was utilized to create that new account, the new Gmail account. And one of the things he made note of is that during the time of that account creation, he also found evidence that Christine was also chatting with Juliana on WhatsApp and shopping on a shopping app, Poshmark, utilizing the Chrome browser. So he says there were other things that she was doing, that she would be doing while this account was supposedly being created. So he's just pointing out some issues there. Of course, the question being, could they have been on her laptop while she was on her phone? A lot of questions there. And one of the other things that he points out in his summary is that he had no indication that Christine lost control of her devices at any time during the January 9th, 2023 period to the morning of when she and Joseph Ryan were killed. So a lot more stuff on this summary here, but those are some of the key findings and some of the things that were brought up yesterday. And then you have these investigators today being brought up and really questioned about the transfer of Detective Brendan Miller, because we know he was questioned, or he was transferred shortly after he was told that those findings were not the findings they were going to go with. They ended up arresting Brendan Banfield, but they also went with Juliana's theory, or her story, that they set it up. So a lot happening there, but let's go back to today.
I want to get on to the Brendan Banfield arrest, because Detective Leah Smith was specifically asked, when was Brendan arrested? And she confirmed, or in her testimony, she said that he was arrested when they got the evidence of the blood splatter back.
Right, the blood evidence. And that's been the prosecution's push. They've been saying, believe the blood evidence. They're saying Juliana is not the only piece of evidence we have here. Believe the blood, where John Carroll has been adamantly saying, people lie, but forensics don't lie. So he's pushing on this forensics data, and they're pushing on the blood data.
That's right. Let's go back to the first witness call today. That was Officer Robert Kasanova. He was a responding officer on the morning of February 24th, 2023, and he stated that he never entered the home, but they did spend quite a while looking at his body cam footage with the audio off. We could not see it, we could not hear it.
About half an hour they listened to that.
But it was pretty lengthy.
Or watched it, yes.
That's
there was
right.
no audio. So for those of you who were tuning in at home and you were just kind of watching a silent movie, if you will.
We saw some of your comments.
Right, yes.
What is going on? Why are we watching this in silence? But what we learned out of that was he was the officer that had a Juliana in his patrol car.
He engaged with Juliana in some capacity, and it wasn't clear what their total interaction was, but that body camera footage, they watched it silently. So the judge ruled no audio. That was a request from the prosecution, and the defense agreed. So they watched the video. We couldn't see it because it has been sealed, but they watched it together and watched it quietly. And we did hear John Carroll asking some questions at different points, just asking, were you told what your duties would be when you arrived to the scene, things of that nature, but not a lot came out of that.
Not a lot came out of that, right? So that was interesting, because that was the first witness he called to the stand, and I wasn't quite sure exactly where this was going. Other than we learned he had Juliana in the car, and we know that morning following the killings that Juliana and the Banfield's 4-year-old daughter at the time, and I say at the time because she was 4 then, she's probably now 6 or 7, was transported to police headquarters. Sergeant Brian Ames was the second witness called to the stand. At that time, believe he was the street supervisor, and this is where he was asked about Brendan Miller's summary of this theory.
Right. And, he was in the digital forensics section, the same section that Brendan Miller was in. And he was in that section for 4 months, he said. And he pointed that out a few times because John Carroll was asking him a lot of questions, and they were again focused around Detective Miller and the transfer of Detective Miller and the conversation of do you follow the evidence? Are you the type of investigator who follows the evidence or the theory? The theory being the catfish theory, as John Carroll has called it, and the evidence being that blood evidence or the forensics evidence. And he made a point to say he follows the evidence. So interesting there.
I'm just reading some of the comments that we were getting on our YouTube channel, and I think, you know, just like we were wondering, one of our viewers was wondering why aren't we able to watch this body cam or listen in? I know Frank's not here to let us in on that, but speculating why it might be under seal?
So a lot of this footage is very graphic. The judge said yesterday when one of the other camera or the body camera clips were played, she said because of the graphic nature, we are going to seal this. They don't, you know, there are families here. There are families in the courtroom, families tuning in. And this is very graphic, and you know, some things the public doesn't need to see. It's just extremely graphic and invasive to the people who were killed that day.
So just want to address that question. Was there anything out of the witnesses so far? I mean, it's been only about an hour and a half, and we've spent a lot of time learning about the catfish theory and which officer was on board, which wasn't, you know. Anything that comes out at you as surprising in any of this?
A few things. You know, I think we all kind of expected to hear some of these things, but some key takeaways for me were when, you know, we heard from Sergeant, I believe he's a sergeant now, Sergeant Ames, and he was asked about the decision to transfer Brendan Miller. That's really been the focus of today. Detective Brendan Miller, the digital forensics section investigator who was transferred shortly after his summary was kind of disputed by the police department. And in that cross prosecution, we heard the prosecutors say to Sergeant Ames, you weren't involved in the transfer in any capacity. So we got some clarity on there.
And he wasn't.
He was not.
He was not involved.
No. But then Detective Leah Smith, I thought it was very interesting to hear from her that she talked a lot about how there were two theories, and the investigators in this case were told, you got to get behind one of them. We have two theories, get behind one. And that goes against everything she says she stands for, that being that they don't go by theories, they go by evidence. And she was asked, was it because of Juliana's recantation that Brendan was arrested? A reminder, Brendan was arrested in September. Juliana didn't, you know, change her or recant, if you will, until October and take that plea agreement. So there's almost a full month between Brendan's arrest and when Juliana agrees to testify. So the prosecution came back on and pointed out that that happened. You know, the arrest was in September, and said, did you feel pressure? Did you change or arrest him because of that theory? And she said, no, it was because the blood evidence came back. So that's why they initially arrested Brendan, according to this homicide detective who was very much involved in the case.
And I would think the prosecutors are using the catfish theory to sort of suggest that there was premeditation along this, you know, this orchestrating this murder scheme, that there was a premeditation involved and planning involved. And so now the defense is arguing against the catfish theory on several points, including you know, bringing the officers to the stand.
Yeah, and another big point from Leah, she was asked, you know, on the cross back to the defense, John Carroll said to her, did you ever feel pressure to change and align with the theory that the department was pushing? And she said, I did not feel pressure, and no matter what was going on, she continued to investigate the way she would. So I thought that was really interesting, and I was kind of surprised that he would ask her that. You would think he would know ahead of time what her answer would be, and that kind of goes against what he was trying to present here today.
Yes. So now what's next? We're in this break here for another couple of minutes. When we resume, I'm curious as to whether the questioning with Detective Leah Smith will continue. I feel like it was sort of wrapping up. Did you get that sense as well, that he got what he needed?
I'm curious to see if he's going to bring up some of the other investigators. So he was asking her, you know, which supervisors were telling you guys had to get behind one of these theories, and she listed a few names, and I don't have their correct spellings down here, so I'm not going to try to guess the correct names there, but I'm curious to see if he's going to bring up any of those supervisors to testify to why they were pushing those theories. I think that quote, though, from her is extremely powerful, that there were two theories and you have to get behind one. Yeah. I think that's going to be something he really pushes forward.
I agree. And remind us again how many officers from this unit were reassigned.
Yeah, so I believe there were 12 at the time, and I don't want to misquote, but I believe there are still 4 in the unit, and I can look back at my notes from that. That was pretty early on in this, correct?
Yeah, that
so
actually
I
was
have it,
presented, I believe, on the first day.
Yeah, so there were 12 homicide detectives in that unit at the time. Only 4 of those homicide detectives are still there. So, a lot of transfers, the question, of course, being, were they transferred because they didn't agree with the theory?
Right.
Or were they transferred because they wanted to be transferred? What was the backstory behind those transfers? And I think if he does bring up some of those supervisors, maybe we could get some context and clarity on why so many of those detectives are no longer in the homicide squad.
And why some of them didn't get behind the catfish theory.
Right. And remember, the prosecution didn't call any homicide detectives from this
right.
case. And that's something John Carroll used in his comments that he wanted to get this case dismissed. He said, why would the prosecution not bring up any homicide detectives? And we heard the prosecution say, why would I bring up a homicide detective to tell you the narration of what happened when I have somebody who was in the room? Why would I bring up a third party?
Yeah, and that was his argument, to which the Judge Ascarati, denied that motion. So that's why we have resumed day 7 of this trial. And I'm sorry, Bree, did you say we're going into this?
No, we have quite
Okay.
a... Yeah, so I think, we're going to see that play out. When we go to the lunch break, which is coming up in a few hours, we are going to have a legal expert here with us. Not Frank today. We'll have Paul Kianaga, and he'll be here to answer some of the questions. We're going to do a little bit of a recap on what we've seen these past 7 days. Crazy to think it's only been 7 days.
It's only been 7 days, but we're in week 2 now, and I know they expected this to go on for 4 weeks. We'll see if that holds true. I'm curious to see at this point, as we inch closer to that midway point, if you will, if you had a crystal ball, what could be the outcome of this so far? What are jury members thinking at this point? I mean, today I feel that they had to sit through a lot of X's and O's of, homicide detectives and their jobs, and these emails that were shared throughout the investigation, but really trying to get to the bottom of this catfish theory. There were 2 theories being, tossed around, and if you didn't get behind the catfish theory, then they were subject to possibly being reassigned, is what...
That's the accusation from John Carroll. Yeah. And I think it's important to mention that nobody has testified that they knew the exact reason of why anyone was transferred, but it does look like court is about to get underway, so we are going to take you in the courtroom shortly and be back during the lunch break with
it looks like the judge has just taken a seat, so let's take you live back inside the Fairfax County Courthouse for the Brendan Banfield murder trial, day 7.
All right, your next witness,
Matt Nielsen.
Matt Nielsen.
Stand here, please stand and put, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law? I do. Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury your name and spell your name for the court reporter?
Matthew Nielsen, Nilssen.
And where are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed with the Fairfax County Police Department as a detective sergeant with the Major Crimes Bureau.
Okay. Were you previously in the homicide division?
Yes, I was.
When was that?
I was employed as a homicide detective prior to my promotion to sergeant from approximately February 2023 until what would have been November of 2024.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you were the homicide sergeant at that time?
I was a detective on the squad.
Okay. And then you transferred to where you are now, which is in the homicide division?
I work for the Major Crimes Bureau. I am not the supervisor of the homicide unit.
Okay.
I work for
What areas are you working in?
I supervise the sex crime squad.
Okay, gotcha. Now, calling your attention to February 24th, 2023, were you involved actively with the homicide that occurred at the Banfield house?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and what role did you play in that?
I assisted beginning on that day with the investigation by handling investigative tasks such as writing search warrants, and then throughout the remainder of the investigation with tasks that were assigned to me by my supervisor and other detectives handling the investigation as primary.
Okay, and based upon the time frame that you said you were there, you were still there in October of 23 when Juliana Peres Magalhães was charged, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and were you involved in that?
Yes, I was.
Okay, was there any sort of planning that went with that?
Yes.
Okay, what was the ultimate goal of charging her with murder?
I would state there were several goals that included the fact that evidence supported probable cause to charge her with murder at that time. But based on our investigation, there was belief that there was more to the story that could be elicited from her. And the effect of charging her with a crime was effectively a way to introduce a change in circumstances between her and Brendan Banfield that could lead to the elicitation of more information about what happened.
Okay, so charging her, keeping her in jail, the pressure that would be caused, was that part of the plan?
Yes, in terms of in any type of incident in which you have multiple people involved in the carrying out of that act, there is competing interests between self-interest and cooperation. And by introducing circumstances that would encourage cooperation with law enforcement over cooperation with other parties, it could change the outcome of the investigation, change the amount of information available to us as investigators.
Okay, like a plea agreement to a lesser charge and no further jail time, something like that?
There's a number of different ways that could be accomplished, or the ultimate goal could be accomplished.
And that's ultimately what happened, though. That's what caused the change in Juliana Peres Magalhães.
My understanding is she did at one point cooperate with detectives. I was not involved at that point in the investigation.
Now, while you were on the homicide squad, were you ever assigned to listening to the jail phone calls?
No, I was not.
Okay. Was that something that was employed in order to determine whether or not she was subject to the pressure that had been intended?
I know that someone was assigned to review those calls, and the information learned from those calls was part of our investigation.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I don't have any further questions.
Cross-examination? No, ma'am. All right, is this witness subject to recall?
No.
All right, you're free to go, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your next witness,
Your Honor, Patrick Bruch.
Patrick Bruch.
you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law? I do. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Bruch.
Good morning.
Can you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
John Patrick Bruch, B-R-U-S-C-H.
And you previously were with the Fairfax County Police Department?
That's correct.
Okay. And in what capacity was your final position?
I was the deputy chief
Okay.
of the Administrative Support Bureau. I'm sorry.
Yes. At some point prior to going to the administrator, were you transferred from another department to go to the Administrative Support Bureau?
Just for clarification, are you asking my previous assignment before
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I was the deputy chief of the Major Crimes Bureau.
Okay. And you were transferred from there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that of your own volition?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You wanted that transfer to the Administrative Support Bureau?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, during your time as deputy chief of the Major Crimes Division, you were overseeing or supervising the homicide squad at that time, correct?
It was one of several squads under the Major Crimes Bureau.
Okay, I'm just asking about the homicide squad. You were supervising the homicide squad.
Could I have permission to clarify?
Yeah, sure.
So I was the head of the entire Major Crimes Bureau, which encompassed the Domestic Violence Unit, the Sex Crime Squad, Child Abuse Squad, Robbery, Cold Case, as well as Homicide.
Okay. And were you involved, or were you in that position at the time of February 24, 2023?
So at that time, I was the captain of the Major Crimes Violent Crimes Division, so not a deputy chief.
And when did you become deputy chief?
I became a deputy chief in January of 2024.
Okay, and did you have contact or involvement in the case that we're here for today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and how would you describe your role in that case among all the other ones that you were handling?
Overall, my responsibilities are similar for all the cases in the Major Crimes Bureau, to include this one. So it's oversight, it's providing advice as needed, support, guidance, and then also raising concerns in the investigative process if those arise.
Okay, were there concerns in the investigative process by you in this case?
I think that's fair to say, yes.
Okay, and did it relate to digital forensics?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and just to get to it, were you involved in the transfer of Detective Miller from digital forensics to child sex?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in fact, you at one point spoke to...
Objection leading.
All right, I'll sustain as to lead.
What, if anything, did you say to Deputy Chief Freed about Brendan Miller to have him transferred?
I had indicated that as far as I was concerned, Detective Miller was not to work another digital forensic case that pertained to the Major Crimes Bureau.
And were you aware of his history prior to you making that, I guess, happen?
Could you please clarify?
His work history there in digital forensics?
Was I aware that he was a detective within the division, the bureau? I guess I'm looking
Well,
for...
I'm assuming you were aware of him being a detective in the bureau. Were you aware of his background in digital forensics?
I guess I would have to say no at that point.
Okay. Was that anything you took into account with regard to Detective Miller?
No, sir.
And so is it fair to say, or what if anything, or what if any case was the reason that you asked for him to be transferred?
It would be this case that we're here for.
Okay, and what item of this case was it that caused you such concern?
Could I actually go back for 1 second? I didn't say that he needed to be transferred. I indicated that he wouldn't work a case for the Major Crimes Bureau.
Okay.
That was Deputy Chief Freed's decision whether or not he ultimately would be transferred.
Okay, so you as the head of you're the deputy chief of the homicide or the Major Crimes Bureau. By saying that, you essentially caused the transfer.
Judge, I'm going to object to his characterization of the evidence. Objection is to form. The witness has testified that at this point in time, he was the captain of Major Crimes when the decision was made, not the deputy chief.
All right.
Is that correct?
I was the deputy chief of Major Crimes when I made that
All right.
statement.
Okay, and when you're the deputy chief, you make that kind of statement, especially with major crimes, that gets things moving, correct?
I certainly acknowledge that had influence on his transfer.
Okay, and his transfer was classified as performance management? Do you know that term?
I didn't know that that's what his transfer was classified as.
Okay, have you ever heard that term?
We have a performance management document.
Okay, but not a doctrine that allows transfer without documenting discipline?
I couldn't comment on that.
Was there discipline associated with this decision?
Not that I'm aware of.
Were you disciplining him by moving him out of your area?
Absolutely not. I actually retained him in the child exploitation unit.
Okay, so where he is right now.
Yes, sir.
Now, calling your attention to immediately after the killing of Christine Banfield. Were you in meetings at that time when you were a captain?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you involved with any theories relating to the case after the killing?
I'm sure at some point.
Okay. Do you know what catfishing is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was that something that you were pushing with your homicide detectives at any point?
I wouldn't characterize that as pushing.
Okay. Would you tell them that this is the theory? Is that not pushing?
So I had a specific meeting with then Lieutenant Harrington. I believe it was in November of 2023. I was asked by the two commanders, Lieutenant Matthew Lewick as well as Lieutenant Aaron Weeks, to meet with Lieutenant Harrington. During that time, I actually proposed 3 separate theories to Lieutenant Harrington. And we discussed those theories at that time. So there was not only one theory I was pushing, or presenting, I should say. Ultimately, I was looking for an objective and comprehensive analysis of all the facts and evidence in this case.
And when the catfish theory came up, had there been a collection of all of the evidence, all the digital forensics, fingerprints, DNA, all of those things?
Just like with any investigation, it was fluid.
Okay. Had that theory of catfishing come out before any of that was finalized?
I'm sorry, could you go back to the things you had listed?
DNA, digital forensics, and fingerprints.
The digital forensics, for the most part, had been back at that point.
What time frame was that?
That would probably be the spring of 2023
Okay, so
to fall of 2023.
So my question is, within weeks of the killing of Christine Banfield, did you suggest the catfish theory in a meeting of the homicide detectives?
I don't recall ever being in a meeting with homicide detectives. I do recall talking to my command team about that possibility.
And who was your command team?
Lieutenant Weeks as well as Lieutenant Lewick.
Okay, and where was Lieutenant Giosio there at that point?
He was not.
Okay, but you brought him in, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and that was March of 2024?
That's correct.
And it was at that point that you had decided that catfish theory was?
Objection
viable?
leading.
All right, I'll sustain as the leading.
What, if anything, had you concluded about the catfish theory at the time that Lieutenant Giosio was brought in?
I hadn't made any conclusions at that point. Did I have a strong working theory that this was a catfish? Absolutely.
Okay, and was that something that you told Lieutenant, I guess, Giosio when he came on with you?
I don't ever recall explicitly having that conversation. I think he probably came to that conclusion on his own.
Okay, but the two of you were pretty close in terms of the investigative issues, correct?
Yes, we were.
You were both in narcotics together at one point?
Yes, we were.
And you brought him in to major crimes, correct?
I did. That was a collective decision amongst my command team.
Okay. And so is it not true that you insisted you had to have Giosio come in March of 2024?
That is not true.
Okay. Were you aware that he was on the Brady list?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's the Brady list for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
It's basically an indication of a time or a potential in where you weren't totally potentially forthcoming.
So truthfulness?
It could be.
But that's essentially the basis of the discipline in the police department, truthfulness, correct?
I think that could vary as well.
Okay.
Ethics, not necessarily truthfulness, so it varies.
But at the time you hired him into that division, he was on the Brady list, correct?
I did not hire him.
Okay, at the time that you asked him to come in and be a lieutenant in your section.
So could I have an opportunity to explain the transfer process?
Judge, I think at this point in time, I would object. I'm not sure the relevance of a non-testifying witnesses being on the Brady list.
Oh, I think we've already established that if you want to move on from that.
Yes.
Okay.
At the time that he was hired, he was on the Brady list, correct?
When he was hired by the police department?
No, by you as a lieutenant within major crimes.
Again, I'd have to explain the transfer process and the selection process.
March 24, was he on the Brady's list?
Yes,
Okay. And this is 2024, March of 2024.
correct.
And has he been put on the Brady list again during this time?
Objection as to relevance?
What's the relevance as to this time?
Judge, it goes to truthfulness, which will ultimately come in to the decisions to have him involved, the decisions why.
But at this time, I'll sustain as to at this time.
Okay. Now, sir, you indicated that you you decided that Detective Miller was not going to be, I think as you said, involved in any other major crimes while you were there.
Any of the digital forensics for the major crimes cases, correct.
Okay. And then he was transferred.
Within weeks, I would say, yes, sir.
Okay. And what was your basis for that?
So there were a few factors. Would you like me to expand on this?
Were they related to this case?
Yes, sir.
Exclusively related to this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it related to his work product?
Yes, sir.
And are you talking about the executive summary work product?
That was part of it.
Okay. And so his conclusions were not agreeable to you?
I wouldn't word that way.
How would you word it?
I would word it that his analysis was incorrect.
Okay. And at that time when you determined his analysis wasn't correct, had you had any training in digital forensics?
I have my master's in computer forensics.
Okay, so did you look at some of the items of evidence in order to arrive at that informed decision?
So he had provided me a zip file of a Cellbrite, but that wasn't able to be downloaded.
Okay, so you didn't really review anything in order coming to that conclusion?
Well, I can get into the specifics if you'd like me to.
Well, I'm asking some questions right now, and perhaps we'll get there.
Okay.
You didn't actually check the source of his findings. With
Objection leading.
What, if anything, did you do to check the source of his findings, the digital forensics?
I didn't conduct my own digital forensic analysis, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, and I think you said you couldn't get into the portable case when you were given to
The zip file of the Cellbrite, correct.
Okay. And so what would be the reason that you would differ from your expert's opinion?
Because of some of the unsubstantiated deductions that he made.
Okay, so it's based upon his decisions relating to his digital forensics expertise.
So the deductions and the wrongful analysis.
Okay, so the decisions,
I wouldn't use that word. I'd say deductions and wrongful analysis.
okay. And the wrongful analysis relating to the actual digital forensics that were downloaded?
Some of them, yes.
Okay. And did you ever go over those with him in detail?
I would ask clarifying questions.
Did you tell him exactly what it was that you disagreed with in terms of his deductions and his analysis?
I think a couple of them, yes.
Okay. How many were there in total?
Off the top of my head, I could probably list at least 4.
Okay. And so it was based on that, based on your reading of his executive summary, that you decided that it had gotten to the point where he's no longer doing any more major crimes under your tutelage.
Digital forensics for major crimes cases. I retained him as a detective within the Major Crimes Bureau
understand
Child
that.
Exploitation Unit.
I understand that. The digital forensics section.
He was not going to do digital forensic analysis for any other major crimes case.
Okay. And sorry, bear with me for a second. Were you aware that his work was peer-reviewed outside of the police department?
I was.
And were you surprised to see that they concurred in his findings?
I have a question to clarify. Did they concur on his extraction or his analysis?
Both.
That's news to me.
Okay. So that peer review held no weight for you because you had already decided that the analysis was wrong.
Objection leading?
All right, sustain as to leading. You want to rephrase?
Why was it that the peer review did not hold any weight for you?
Because ultimately the analysis was incorrect.
Okay. Now, in terms of the Cellbrite messages that you say you reviewed, what was it that was the problem with those?
The Cellbrite messages that he had provided,
Yes.
I wasn't able to open the zip file.
Okay, so we don't know anything about the Cellbrite messages as to your decisions on his analysis. Were you privy to a printout of his communications on FetLife?
Yes.
Okay. Were you privy to the communications from Telegram?
Yes.
And do you understand how those were obtained?
Through the digital forensics.
Do you know how that's done?
It's essentially tied to software that then downloads both from a cell phone and or laptop or any digital device.
And did you review that data?
I didn't review all the data, no.
What data did you review?
I reviewed the correspondence.
I'm sorry, the what?
The correspondence on Telegraph, the correspondence on
Okay.
FetLife. There's a significant amount of data when they download these items.
Okay. Now, are you still working as a police officer?
I am not.
Okay. On July 10th, when we were here before the court, you had just moved to the Administrative Support Bureau, correct?
I moved there in February of 2025.
Okay, but that's when we found out you had moved, or I found out that you moved to the Administrative Support.
Objection, counsel's testifying.
Overruled, go ahead.
Correct?
I can't testify to when you found out I was moved.
Okay, on the 10th, we talked about this, correct?
Yes.
And how you had enjoyed this position, and you were really looking forward to, you know, the things that happen in an administrative support bureau, and the challenge of not having, that's being in more of an administrative role than being in major crimes.
I would agree that it was a completely different assignment than I'd had throughout my entire career.
And that's something that you sought, correct?
Correct.
Isn't that what you said?
Yes, sir.
And it's something that you're really excited about, correct?
I don't know if I'd say really excited, just
Well, when you were here on the 10th, you said that you were very interested and excited about your new challenge.
sure.
Okay. And when did you retire?
July 25th, 2025.
When did you put in your retirement paperwork?
July 11th, 2025.
So the Friday after the Thursday that we were in court here?
Correct.
Okay. So what happened, if anything, about the excitement with the Administrative Support Bureau?
Judge, I would object and ask to approach.
Sir, why did you retire one day or put in your retirement paperwork one day after the hearing that we had here on July 10th?
For personal and professional reasons.
Okay. And you're no longer a police officer?
I am not.
Sir, I'm going to change tack here for a little while. Your Honor, I think we have ID'd 91, so 92 would be the next.
All right, yes, sir.
Sir, if you can look on the screen in front of you, are you able to see this communication?
Yes.
Okay, and who is that communication between?
Director Fayez.
Okay, and Director Fayez, who is that?
She's the Director of Victim Services.
Okay, and was she someone that was within your command structure?
Yes, sir.
Okay, exactly where does that fall in the Major Crimes Bureau command structure?
She's part of the command team.
Okay, so would she be involved with command staff meetings?
Yes, sir.
Is she supposed to be there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here we have, it looks like a,
Counsel, if you could go back to the microphone, the jury won't be able to.
sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Looking at the exhibit that's going to be identified as Exhibit 92, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And there's reference to a jail call. Is that you or is that someone else?
They're responding where it says my name.
Okay. And so who else was on this thread?
I believe it would have to be, based on the response of one last favor GI, would be Lieutenant Giosio.
Okay, and so it was the three of you, and you agree that's a communication that you had with all three?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Your Honor, I move that as Commonwealth's Defense Exhibit 92.
Any objection?
Judge, it contains hearsay statements. Two of those individuals have not been called to testify.
I'll identify
ID
it,
it?
Judge,
Okay.
and we'll get to it later, and
All
that's
right, ID'd is 92.
92. Sir, do you see that on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it looks to be three people.
That's correct.
Okay, and who are those three people?
Based on the text message, it would be Chief Kevin Davis, myself, Director Fayez, and Lieutenant Giosio.
And the date of Friday, October 25th, 7:32.
Correct.
Does that have significance for you?
I believe that's the date that Juliana proffered.
Your Honor, can I identify this as Defense Exhibit number 93?
93 identified as 93.
And I'd move that into evidence?
Objection contains hearsay.
All right, sustained as hearsay at this moment.
I'll just identify it,
Okay.
Your Honor. and-
Identified as 93.
Sir, do you see what will be identified as Defense Exhibit number 94?
I do.
Okay, and is that a message group that you were involved with?
Could you just give me a second to read this, please?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, it is.
And this message that you sent is on October 25th, 2024, correct?
Correct.
And the same significance as the previous message?
Are you saying this day of the proffer?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, have I identified this one yet?
You identified it as 94.
94. I'd move that into evidence, Your Honor.
Same objection.
Objection,
All
hearsay.
right, I'll sustain the objection at this point.
Okay,
It is
I'll-
ID'd as 94.
ID is 94. Thank you. Sir, can you see that message?
I can.
And I'd identify this as Defense Exhibit 95. There are a number of people involved in this message, correct?
It appears that way, yes, sir.
And the names there, does that match up with your memory?
Could I review this as well?
Of course, of course.
I've reviewed it. I don't recall this correspondence, but my name is certainly on it.
Do you have any idea who is writing in the blue boxes,
I can't tell.
even by the discussion?
Well, my issue with being able to tell is that the banner, it's very small initials.
Okay. Your Honor, I think I've identified this as 95?
That's correct.
Okay. I'll ID this and
Okay.
come back to it.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I'm going to have you look at this. It'll be identified as Defense Exhibit 96. Take some time to read it.
I can see my first name up at the top. I don't recall this correspondence.
Okay, and is that with Lieutenant Giosio?
I couldn't say. I see my first name up at the top.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd move to admit that as Exhibit 96.
Judge, two objections, hearsay, and it has not been recognized by the witness as having been his
All right,
statement.
I'll sustain the objection. It's just ID is 96 at this point.
Sir, please look at this message. This is going to be identified as Defense Exhibit 97.
Again, I see my name at the top. I just couldn't verify if that's me as Patrick and/or who this correspondence is with.
Okay. Let's talk about that. PB, Patrick, that doesn't show up on your text messages?
Well, it appears that this is with somebody else, so it's what appears on their text messages.
Okay, so do you have any idea, based on the content of it, who that person would be?
Are you asking me to take a guess?
Do you, no, I want you to conclude who that person is. Can you do that?
I can't definitively say who that's with.
Okay. Your Honor, I would move that in as Commonwealth's Exhibit, or Defense Exhibit 97.
Same objection.
All right, I'll sustain the objection, but ID is 97.
97, Your Honor, is that right?
That was 97.
Okay, thank you. Sir, I'm going to ask you to identify what will be marked as Defense Exhibit number 98. Please read it.
Again, that's my name at the top, or my first name at the top, with the initials PB. I don't recall this correspondence.
Your Honor, I'd move into evidence Exhibit 97.
98.
98,
Same
sorry.
objection, Judge.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. ID is 98.
Sir, can you look at the screen in front of you and tell me if you recognize this message? Your Honor, I'd identify this as Defense Exhibit 99.
All right.
Again, I see that my first name at the top, the initials. I just don't recall this correspondence.
Your Honor, I'd move in Defense Exhibit 98.
99.
99. Objection, Your Honor.
99, sorry.
Sustained, and just ID is 99.
Sir, can you see the picture in front of you?
Yes.
And do you have any recollection, based upon your review of the content of these messages, as to whether or not that's yours?
This I do recall, yes, sir.
Okay. And were you the one who wrote about Klingon and Kelsey and not holding off on bringing Klingon and Kelsey? into the room?
Objection is to counsel's reading the document into evidence, but it's not being admitted.
All right,
Just trying to identify which message.
all right. Well, you can have, just point to it, and that's
Which,
the same objection.
I'm pointing to that one right there. Is that you, or is that the person you're talking to?
Based on how this is presented, that would be me.
Okay. And in that message, you're talking about Eric Klingon, the prosecutor, correct?
Yes.
And Kelsey Gill, the prosecutor.
Yes.
Okay. And whomever you're speaking to, you're saying, hold off on bringing-
Objection. It has not been admitted into evidence. Counsel cannot read what is written.
I'll sustain that objection.
Okay, Your Honor. I'd move this into evidence as Exhibit 100.
And again, Judge, Commonwealth would object. It contains hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection, but ID'd as 100.
Okay. Sir, this is going to be identified as Defense Exhibit 101. Do you recognize that message?
I don't recall this specific message.
Okay. Is that, do you know if that is your communication, even if you don't remember the content?
I don't recall.
Your Honor, I'll hold this as identification
101.
before moving in.
Okay.
101. Sir, do you recall this conversation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you know who you were communicating with?
Lieutenant Giosio.
And which color of the bubbles are you communicating on?
Gray.
And this is Friday, October 25th. Well, tell me the date. What does it say?
It says Friday, October 25th.
Okay, and what's the significance of that?
That's the date of Juliana's proffer.
Okay. Your Honor, I'll hold off and
All right.
move that.
That's
This
fine.
is 102.
ID'd as 102.
So do you, sir, do you recall this message that's before you?
Yes, sir.
And was that a message that you participated in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and are you in the gray?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, this would be identified as Defense Exhibit 103.
All right. 103, identified.
Now, sir, in your communication, you reference someone else in the fourth gray communication down. Who is that person?
That's Director Fayez.
And Director Sally Fayez?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, it's identified
It's
as
identified as 103.
103.
Yep. You got it.
Sir, can you see the message before you?
I do.
Is that a message that you were participating in?
Yes, sir, I'm again in the gray.
Okay, and the second box, those are your words?
Yes, sir.
And these are your words?
Yes, sir.
And do you know who you were speaking with?
Lieutenant Giosio.
Okay. Your Honor, I identify that as
104.
104, and
Yes.
we'll move in for.
All right, identified as 104.
Sir, this is Defense Exhibit 105. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And are those your words?
Yes, sir.
And who are you speaking with?
Lieutenant Giosio.
Your Honor, I'd identify and move to be admitted at a later time.
Okay, so just right now it's identified as 105.
Sir, I'm going to identify this as Defense Exhibit 106. Do you recognize that communication?
I do not.
Are you not a participant in this?
I don't know if I am. I can't tell.
Okay. Your Honor, identified as 106.
Identified as 106.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to identify what will be marked as Defense Exhibit 107. Are you involved in that message?
I don't believe I am because I'm referenced in the third person. So if you see the second gray box down, wasn't for your leadership and Bruch believing in you. I
Yes.
don't refer to myself in the third person.
Okay, but you don't remember it if, in fact, you were included in this?
I don't recall.
Okay. Your Honor, I move that, I would identify it as
Identified as 107.
107. Sir, those messages appear to be quite frequent and with the same group of people. Is that correct?
I guess.
I mean, would that be your, a group that you rely on for discussion about the case?
Certainly people I was in text communications with.
Okay. And the text communications that we know from what we just saw were what you told us, Lieutenant Giosio and Sally Fayez, Director of Victim Services, correct?
Well, there was definitely other ones where you had group people on there as well.
Right, but we didn't identify them.
I think there was one line that said Dan Spital on there as well.
Okay, was he part of your command staff?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And were there anybody else that you saw on there?
I believe Tom Harrington was on one of those
Was
threads.
he part of your command staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And anybody else that you saw there?
I don't recall. I have to go through those again.
Okay. You're on a court's indulgence.
All right, yes, sir.
Sir, in terms of your command structure, who is below you
As in, how would it
within
appear?
homicide? Yes.
My command structure would have been myself to Major Spital. Then underneath him would have been Captain Harrington, Captain Bobel. Let me clarify, I assume you're talking in this 2024 timeframe.
Yes.
Yes. And then the direct report to Major Spital, I think by the way the diagram was, or as I best can recall, would have been Director Fayez.
And so Director Fayez had a direct report, Major Spital had a direct report,
Yes, I was his direct report.
and is that something that's put into the structure that was set up?
Could you clarify what you're asking?
Well, are you the one who's asking for the direct reports, or is it just based upon their position that they're?
It's based upon their position.
Okay. Was Lieutenant Giosio ever a direct report?
He would have then been underneath, at the way it was structured, Captain Bobel.
Okay. Was there ever any concern by the people in your command staff regarding Lieutenant Giosio directly reporting to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was that an issue that you had to deal with?
It wasn't an issue for me.
Okay. Well, in a command structure such as yours, who would Lieutenant Giosio have to go to if he wasn't a direct report?
I think I'd like to be careful about the word have to. It's a command structure, so there is a hierarchy, and I would be at the top of that hierarchy.
Okay, and would you be the person who would give him permission to bypass the others to get to you?
I could.
Okay, in this case, specifically this case, did you tell him to come directly to you and bypass the others?
I did not tell him to bypass the others, but it was known that he would be reporting directly to me.
Okay, so you gave him that assignment, and then he just took it from there without talking to the others?
I actually spoke to the others. They were part of my command team.
Okay, so you then disseminated whatever he said to you directly?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you came into your position as deputy chief, were you told to clean up the homicide division?
No, sir.
Did you in turn tell anybody to clean up the homicide division?
No, sir.
Were you aware of anybody saying that they were here to clean up the homicide division?
Objection as to relevance.
Overruled, if you can answer. That's fine.
No, sir.
Judge, I don't have any further questions.
All right, first examination.
Good afternoon. So are we to understand that your involvement in the Banfield investigation was as a supervisor only?
As a commander, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you did not collect any evidence in this case?
That's correct. I did not collect any evidence in this case.
Did you direct that any evidence be ignored?
No, ma'am.
You spoke about Brendan Miller and your concerns about his work. You specifically made the statement that he had unsubstantiated deductions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Was one of those unsubstantiated deductions recorded in his executive summary that Christine Banfield was the operator of her devices when interacting with the FetLife account?
That's correct.
Okay. And was it that type of unsubstantiated deduction that caused you concern?
Exactly.
Okay. Did you do anything to change his report?
Never.
And did you do anything to change the evidence that he had collected that he believed substantiated his report?
Never.
Okay. Judge, I don't have any further questions, witness.
Redirect? I'm sorry, could you?
I had one other exhibit that I neglected to introduce
All right,
in
do you have
my
any objection
direct.
to him? Just, he has one more
No,
text
asking
message.
questions, certainly not.
That's fine. Okay, go ahead. It would be 108, Mr. Carroll.
108, yes. Let me just, I'll do my cross and
Okay.
then, or my rebuttal.
Redirect.
Mr. Bruch, the word unsubstantiated can be a difference of opinion in digital forensics, right? Correct?
I guess it would depend on how it applies.
And your statement that it's unsubstantiated was in conflict with your digital forensics expert statement that she was in control of her devices on the FetLife communications, correct?
I don't know that I agree with part of that statement.
Okay, which part?
So there was a conclusion that Christine Banfield was always in the possession of her devices. The crime scene definitively
Relating
demonstrates
to
that to be
FetLife, which is what she
incorrect.
asked. The question was relating to FetLife. Do you?
So could you repeat the question?
So you want me to go all the way back to the difference between unsubstantiated and what?
No, the part where you're bridging of unsubstantiated with the FetLife.
Yeah, that was the question that you were asked by Ms. Sands. And so what I'm asking is, you've indicated that it was unsubstantiated, I'm assuming as to the question as to the FetLife communications, correct?
That's what Ms. Sands asked me, correct?
Yes. And so I think your answer was you were talking about generally the statement in his executive summary that she had not relinquished any of her devices. Is that what you were talking about?
Well, those are two different things. I answered Ms. Sands' question, which would be that, yes, his deduction that Christine Banfield was communicating with Joe Ryan was not only actually unsubstantiated, it was wrong.
Well, so what did you look at to reach the conclusion that it was unsubstantiated? What digital forensics did you look at?
So going back to my education and being a master's in computer forensics, you never attribute a device and or a username to a person.
Okay, and is that what you're relying on to make that point?
With regards to Ms. Sands' question, yes.
So that's not supported by any review of the items that were extracted from the 60 different devices that he did?
Well, by happenstance, it is unsubstantiated. Unless Detective Miller was sitting next to Anastasia or Taco Supreme, he could never attribute whomever was talking on those devices.
And so what your position is that you're not going to believe that you can conclude someone's control of the devices unless you have a video or you have someone who was watching it?
It just would be forensically incorrect to make that conclusion.
But digital forensics makes that conclusion.
Objection, counsel's arguing.
I'll sustain that objection.
Sir, I'm going to show you what will be marked as Defense Exhibit 108. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall the date?
I believe that's going to be October 25th, is that correct?
Yes. It doesn't say, but if you recall it that way, that's what.
That's consistent with my communication with Lieutenant Giosio on the date of the proffer.
Okay. And is it your understanding that he was in a separate room outside of the proffer? And you were communicating with him?
I wasn't on site. I don't feel comfortable answering that question.
You don't know personally?
I don't.
Okay. But it was while it was going on, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is this the communication with Lieutenant Giosio?
This was my communication, as I recall it, with Lieutenant Giosio.
Okay. Your Honor, Defense Exhibit 108, we'll ID it.
It's
and
identified
move
as
it.
108.
Were you also involved in the transfer of Kyle Bryant, the lead detective?
Yes, sir.
And was that due to his performance?
Performance due to inexperience, as well as the phrase I would use, I believe he was in over his head as a homicide detective.
Okay, and so Miller, so from the group that was in place in October, Detective Brendan Miller was transferred?
He was transferred, I believe, in November.
Okay. Okay. And then Detective Bryant, who was the lead homicide detective in this case, was transferred?
He was transferred in January of 2025.
And that was as a result of your deciding he had to go?
I just didn't believe he was experienced for the homicide squad.
So you transferred him?
He was transferred to the sex crimes unit.
Okay. And in that same time frame, you were transferred, correct?
I was transferred in February of 2025.
And Lieutenant Giosio was transferred
Correct.
during the same time frame?
Right around that same time frame.
Okay. I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Based on Exhibit 108, did you have any questions? Since that was a new,
No, but it was not offered into evidence yet.
no, it's just
so,
ID'd.
yes.
Okay. Is this witness subject to recall?
Not by the Commonwealth.
No. Are you free to go then?
Thank you.
All right, your next witness? Giosio.
Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law?
Good afternoon, sir.
You
Can you
doing?
please state your name and spell your name for the court reporter?
Lieutenant David Giosio, Giaccio,
And where are you currently stationed?
the Sully District Station,
Okay. And where were you prior to the Sully District Station?
the homicide unit.
Okay. And you were lieutenant there?
Yes,
Was that under, at one point, Deputy Chief Bruch?
yes.
Okay. Or actually, during the entire time you were there was under?
During the entirety of the time I was there.
Because he transferred as well, correct?
I'm sorry.
Because he had transferred around the same time you did.
Yeah, I think about a month before I arrived, he was there.
Okay. I am going to ask you to identify what has been marked and introduced as Defense Exhibit 88.
It's just been marked, not introduced, but.
Oh, sorry. I thought 88 was.
Oh, 88 is, you're right, 88 is in evidence.
Do you recognize that?
It's an email.
Okay. And What's your role in this email?
Without context, it's hard to say. I think it has to do with an executive summary that I was having Detective Miller review.
Okay, so is that the executive summary right there? Was that the attachment?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, during that time frame, perhaps you can recall, during the time frame of November 8th, were you communicating with Sergeant Brian Ames then?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and you were communicating about the digital forensic executive summary?
That's correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I think that's in evidence.
That's in
Can we
evidence.
publish that? Is it already?
It's already been published.
Okay,
If it's in
thank you.
evidence, we publish it.
Sir, I'm going to have you look at what has been marked as and moved into evidence as number 89. Does that give you more context in identifying it?
Yes, I believe this was after the co-defendant in this case came in for a proffer. And those attachments or links, I guess would be the better term, at the bottom are links to the attachment or to the body-worn camera that was used to record that proffer. There were two parts.
Okay, and in this instance, you went to Brian Ames with the two proffers, correct?
That's correct.
And was there a phone call that went along this? Where did he get his direction from?
I don't recall. I think we talked, I don't remember if it was a phone call or an in-person conversation, but after the proffer, we had a conversation about some of the forensics reports and the need to revisit them.
Okay, and the need to change them, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Was there an attempt to update, sorry, I'll leave that there so you can see it. Was there an attempt to update the digital forensics based on the proffers that you sent?
So we had a meeting, I think it was after these emails, there was a meeting set up with Sergeant Ames and the two Brendan Millers. They names are slightly different, but they work in the same unit to go over the basically all the digital forensics and to understand why they came to certain conclusions previously and understand how the evidence was correctly, how it would have been correctly analyzed.
Okay, and that was entirely based upon the proffer of Juliana Peres Magalhães?
I think it was partially based on it. I think there was some question about the analysis from the leadership, both me and above me, prior to that.
Are you talking about Deputy Chief Bruch?
Yeah, he would be one of the people, yes.
Okay, and so, well, I guess, so what you're saying is that you analyzed the digital forensics and you arrived at a different conclusion than your expert?
So I reviewed the data, and I think the data is what the data is. I think the context and how you analyze what it may mean is different.
Okay, and so you were looking at the more the conclusions?
I would say the logic used to arrive at certain conclusions.
Okay. And this is with Brendan Miller's report?
Correct.
The executive summary?
That's one of them, yeah.
Okay. And did you ever talk to Brendan Miller and have him show his work?
Yes.
How many times did you do that?
Several.
Okay. And when you were doing that, were you trying to get him to change?
Not the data, the analysis.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say change, I would say to understand what I was seeing.
Okay. Are you aware of this email?
What number is this?
This is actually, sorry, 90.
90,
And
so
it's
it is
been
evidence.
introduced, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm not aware of this email, no.
Okay. I think it might have been the day before.
Well, yeah, some of it, obviously, the one I sent, I'm aware of. The one at the top, I assumed is what you were speaking about. I'm not aware of that one.
Okay. And is it accurate in terms of how he characterizes it?
Judge, the witness just indicated he's not aware of the document.
He's aware of the bottom part, I think is what he said. So if you want to direct your questions to that.
Well, I think I can ask him questions, Judge, about whether the body of it is accurate, whether it's being communicated properly.
What, if he recognizes it? He said he didn't recognize it, so I'll sustain that objection.
Okay. Do you recognize the content of what's being sent?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
The body of.
I mean, I can read it,
Sergeant
if that's what
Ames?
you're, I can read it and understand it.
Does that sound like what you said to him?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to ask you to identify what has been, or look at what has been identified as Defense Exhibit 90.
No,
Nope.
Oh, sorry, 91.
This is 91, which is
Yes,
not in
91,
evidence.
Sorry. So I'd be most interested in you looking at this area down here. Is that something that you created?
I wrote that email, yes.
Okay. And you're going to move this in as Defense
91.
Exhibit 91?
Any objection?
I can have the court's indulgence for 1
Yes,
second.
ma'am.
No objection.
All right, 91 in evidence. Publish it, or it goes away.
Now, I'm going to go through a series of communications where it's multiple people. And so what I'm going to ask you is whether or not you recognize the communication and whether you're involved in the communication.
Okay.
Okay? So this would be exhibit number 92. Do you see that?
Yes.
And does that look like the communication that you were involved with?
Yes, I believe the blue bubbles are mine.
Okay. We still don't have the third person, so I'm just going to identify that, Judge. and
That's still 92.
92. Sir, do you recognize that text message chain?
I do.
And are you involved in that?
That's my, in blue as well.
I'm sorry, in the blue?
The blue is my
Okay.
text, yes.
Thank you. Do you recognize that message? That would be Exhibit 93.
It's exhibit 94.
This is 94.
94. I apologize, Judge. 94.
Yes,
Okay, and that's a communication that you remember?
I do.
And it looks as though it's Patrick Bruch is one, and who's the other one?
Sally Fayez?
Okay, and Sally Fayez is, what's her position within?
She's the director of the Victim Services Department or
Okay.
unit.
Is she are you a direct report for her?
Or, I'm not sure what you're,
Am I speaking in, or do you directly report to her?
no, I never have.
Okay, Who did you directly report to while you were in homicide?
Well, I had, I guess, Captain John Bobel, Major Dan Spital, and Deputy Chief Patrick Bruch.
Okay. Did you have any privilege to report directly to Patrick Bruch when he was deputy chief?
For the purpose of this case, he was my primary report.
Okay, so it would just be the two of you communicating, much like these messages?
I mean, the other commanders were part of it, but he was the primary person that I reported to.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to identify if you are involved in this, if you are involved in this, which is a Defense Exhibit 96, 95.
95.
Yes, I believe that's my text in blue as well.
Okay. And do you remember this day?
I believe that was the day after the arrest of the defendant.
Okay. Thank you. Sir, do you recognize this has been identified as Defense Exhibit 96?
97? We're on 96. No, we're just on 95.
96, right?
96,
Yes.
Do you recognize that?
I do.
And that's just a direct message between you and Patrick Bruch?
That's correct.
Okay. And do you remember the context of it based on looking at it?
That was on the eve of the preliminary hearing for the co-defendant.
Your Honor, I'd move this in as Defense Exhibit 96.
Any objection?
No objection.
96 in evidence and can be published.
And so you're in blue again, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Big Day, you're speaking of what you just said, which is the preliminary hearing?
Correct.
Okay, and you reference Klingon? Are you
Yes.
talking about Eric Klingon, the prosecutor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, he was the prosecutor on this case back then, correct?
Yes, he was.
And what just describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what's the communication about?
Your Honor, if counsel is asking the witness to read it, I would object. It has not yet been moved into evidence.
He asked him what it's about, so I'll overrule the objection.
You can go ahead and answer.
It's about being nervous for the preliminary hearing.
Okay, and that's between you and Deputy Chief Bruch?
Correct.
Okay, were you directly involved in the preliminary hearing that day?
No.
Okay. And was that the day of the hearing?
I believe it's the evening before, or, yeah, the evening before.
Okay, the preliminary hearing was on April 1st?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you involved in the preparation? Is that why you're privy to that?
Well, I was the supervisor. I'm sorry. Oh, closer. Sorry, it sounds loud to me. I'm sorry, can you repeat the questions?
Were you directly involved with the preparation for the preliminary hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I was the supervisor of the homicide unit.
Okay, but you didn't have any investigatory role in this?
No, in this case, I wasn't involved in any interviews. I didn't collect any evidence. I simply oversaw the investigation starting in, I think, early March 2024, so about 13 months after the murder.
Okay. Is it customary for lieutenants not to be involved in any of those things?
At the time, I was a sergeant, but yeah, I think that's fairly normal. The detectives do the investigating, the supervisor oversees it.
Would there be any other reasons why you couldn't prepare for the hearing?
No.
Were you on the Brady list at that time?
Objection is to relevance.
Overruled.
I'm not aware that anybody keeps a Brady list, but the Commonwealth has told me that they make certain disclosures about an investigation where I allowed an employee who had a brain tumor to stay home on light duty at the direction of a commander.
Okay. And so that was one instance when you were put on the Brady list. Have you been put on the Brady list on other occasions?
No.
Objection is to relevance.
Overruled, he answered no.
And the Brady list essentially, well, you tell me, what is the Brady list?
Well, like I said, I don't think there's a Brady list, but the Commonwealth makes disclosures based on opinions that they form about a case.
And the underlying finding is truthfulness, correct?
No.
Okay. Now, there's comment in here about catfishing. Was that a concern on March 30th, 2024, amongst you and Deputy Chief Bruch?
Was catfishing a concern?
There's a comment here. I'm just trying to get the context of that.
So based on the evidence, I think that after I reviewed it, it was about a month in, I believe that it was overwhelming that this was a catfish. I think the term has been used kind of across the board now. That was set up by the defendant, yes.
Okay, and after doing 1 month's worth of work as a lieutenant, you were able to arrive at that conclusion?
I was a sergeant at the time, but yes.
Okay, and describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what were your digital forensics qualifications in order to arrive at that conclusion?
Well, I reviewed sort of the evidence that was provided to me by the digital forensics people. You know, for instance, the accounts were created in January. They had never, you know, they were brand new accounts. That was unusual to me. We reviewed Christine's history. I think it went back to the mid-2000s. She had never so much as visited a porn site that we could find, so I thought that was...
I guess my question was about the digital forensics.
Well, I think reviewing her digital footprint, there was no evidence of that. There were 2 occasions where the co-defendants were out of town for 48 to 36 hours, and none of the accounts, the CB 920 at Gmail wasn't used, the FetLife account wasn't used, the Telegram account wasn't used. It seemed unusual to me that that wouldn't happen while they were out of the house.
So if I can, let me just redirect you back to digital forensics.
Well, this is all part of the digital evidence, right? So,
not your opinion as to whether or not it's unusual if they're in or out of town.
Just want to
That's
ask
not.
you ask your next question.
Yes. In terms of catfishing, that was a theory that you were pushing, correct?
that I was,
Pushing.
it's what I believe the evidence overwhelmingly supported, yes.
And you then attempted to educate the homicide detectives about that,
Objection,
correct?
leading.
All right, I'll stay in this lead.
What, if anything, did you do with the homicide detectives in order to convince them of your theory?
We reviewed the evidence many times between March and September. However, it wasn't until the co-defendant came into proffer that everybody was in agreement that the catfish was the actual correct.
Okay,
theory.
so once again, it was the co-defendant, not the digital forensics, that caused that conclusion, correct?
That's not my opinion, no.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any further questions on that. Sir, I'm going to have you look at what will be marked as 98, Defense Exhibit 97.
No.
It's 97.
97?
It's 97, correct.
You see that, sir?
Yes,
Okay. And in that, this is between you and Deputy Chief Bruch, is that right?
it is.
Okay. And there's some concern about losing the probable cause hearing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So question for, Your Honor, I'd move that into evidence.
All right, any objection, 97?
Yes, Judge, our previous witness did not identify that as his information, so it stands as hearsay.
It's kind of a follow-on of 96, it just keeps going down, so I'll
I can-
rule the objection on
Thank you.
97 in evidence.
Is this communication with Patrick Bruch?
It is.
Okay. And in here, there's discussion about the prosecutor's plan, correct?
Yes.
And and are you in the blue or the gray?
Blue.
Okay. And there's something about a fail-safe that's been put in place. What's that?
We had evidence that the co-defendant may have misrepresented things on her visa application, and I think Customs and Border Protection had planned to investigate that and potentially arrest her for it.
Okay, so if the preliminary hearing didn't go well, you wanted to get a hold of her immediately afterwards.
Correct.
So if the preliminary hearing hadn't gone well, just for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the case would have been dismissed,
Correct.
and then she would have been released.
Judge, counsel's testifying.
I'll state as the leading.
Sir, what would have happened if the preliminary hearing had been dismissed?
The co-defendant would be released.
And so the fail-safe was to have Customs and Border Patrol there to grab her?
Correct.
Okay, so come to the jail before she's released.
I think they were planning on getting arrest warrants. I'm not fully read into what their plan was.
And was this a plan between you and then Deputy Chief Bruch, or was this a plan amongst everyone involved?
It was the detectives on the task force that was created set it up.
Okay, and so who else would have known about the fail-safe?
Detective Bryant, Detective Goodell, and Detective Smith, I think, was still pretty well involved at that point.
Was Detective Bryant the chief detective at that time?
He was the lead detective, yes.
Okay, and Detective Goodell was another co-lead detective?
Correct.
And was Detective Smith a lead detective, or she?
Yeah, so essentially when I arrived, Detective Bryant had been the lead for the first year or so. I think at some point prior to my arrival, Detective Smith had been assigned to help him. And then once I got there, I assigned Detective Goodell. So there was 3 detectives plus myself that were reviewing all the evidence.
Okay. Okay, did you say in a prior statement that as a lieutenant you wouldn't review all the evidence?
No, I would absolutely review the evidence. I wouldn't take part directly in the investigation. I didn't interview witness, collect evidence, or have any real direct involvement, just in reviewing and advocating for investigative leads.
And Your Honor, I'm sorry, 97 was moved into evidence?
97 is in
Okay,
evidence.
and that's, the jury has,
That's
it's been published. Okay, thank you. Sir, can you see that communication?
Yes.
Is that the communication with Patrick Bruch?
Yes.
And this is from November 8th, correct?
Yes,
Okay, do you recognize this?
I do.
And you're in blue?
Correct.
Your Honor, I move this in as Commonwealth's Exhibit number 98.
Judge, I'll renew the objection that former Deputy Chief Bruch could not identify this item.
On this one, he could not identify.
I think the witness just identified him.
All right.
Correct, but the witness indicates based on the document
I'm going to
itself.
sustain the objection since he testified that he did not recall it. So I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Sir, in the blue box, you indicate that you did something. What is that?
I used the words markup. Took a red pen. What I did was highlight in red
Okay.
on a document.
And did you actually take a pen?
No, it was the red. I changed the font to red rather than black.
Okay. And the document that you were referring to there, what document was that?
It was the executive summary prepared by Detective Miller.
Okay. Your Honor, may we approach on 98?
Sure.
Your Honor, if I may, I also had 106.
I had 106. I put that on his.
Okay, and 107. Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Sir, do you identify what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 100?
Yes, it's a text message.
And that's between you and Patrick Bruch?
It is.
Are you in the blue box or the gray box?
Blue.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd move that into evidence as
No objection.
Got
Comments
100 in
Exhibit
evidence.
100.
And we'll publish.
So what, if anything, did you do when you were told to hold off on bringing Klingon and Kelsey into the loop?
I don't remember specifically, but I would imagine I held off on giving them a call.
Okay. And who, for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who's Klingon and who's Kelsey?
They were the prosecutors assigned at the time.
Okay. And do you recall when it was that you put them in the loop after this statement?
I'm sure within 24 hours. I don't recall
But you don't
exactly.
have any recollection?
No, I don't recall, but it was definitely not for any extended period of time.
Okay, and this looks like it was something that might jog your memory. It was relating to Celebrite Task Force. Do you have any recollection when it was that you would have told the prosecutors in this case, whatever the conclusion was?
Judge, I think that's a mischaracterization of the evidence.
If you want to rephrase your question.
Was the was the information that you're holding off on relating to the task force meeting at Cellbrite?
I believe it was the blood inside Juliana's shoes and on Brendan's pants.
Okay, and so how long did it take for you to communicate that to the prosecution team?
Like I said, I don't remember exactly, but it would be something that I would bring them up to speed on within a short period.
Okay, but you don't remember if you did?
I'm sorry?
But you don't remember if you did?
I certainly remember that they're aware of it. I just don't know exactly what that time frame was,
Okay.
but I would guess within 24 hours.
Thank you.
Mr. Carroll, would this be a good time to go ahead and take our
Okay,
lunch break?
yes, thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our lunch break for an hour. Please do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay? Thank you.
We're gonna do Saka at 1:30. So I'm gonna.
The prosecution or the defense at this time, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. We'll be back. Let's go at 2:05, okay? 2:05. All right.
Court's recess until 2:05.
All right, you have been watching the Brendan Banfield murder trial here on WUSA 9+. We have been streaming that trial live for you. They began at 9:30 this morning. Here with me is Paul Kiyonaga. Thank you so much for being with me. He's an attorney here in the district, and he's going to be kind of weighing in, answering some questions for those of you at home. And those of you who do have questions, just a reminder, you can text us at 202-895-5599. We'd love to hear your questions, and he'll be able to hopefully give some perspective on some of the things that have been happening. And a lot has been happening today. We are on day 7 of this trial for Brendan Banfield. He's facing a number of charges. He's on trial for murder. Aggravated murder is one of the charges. He's facing 4 counts of aggravated murder, 1 count of using a firearm to commit a felony, 2 counts of child abuse with disregard for life, and 1 count of child cruelty. We've been hearing from a lot of witnesses the past few days. The defense has been taking their witnesses up to the stand since yesterday. Today, we heard from 6 witnesses so far. We expect to hear from more, but let's take you back to last week. We heard opening statements last Tuesday. I want to play you some of the highlights from opening statements last week. All right, so we're going to get you some of those highlights in a few moments if we're able to, and then get you some recap as well of some of the testimony that we heard. We heard from so many people last week. Paul, why don't we talk a little bit about what we really just saw in the last few moments? We were hearing from some of the detectives, some of the upper leaders of the Department for Fairfax County Police who were really involved with this case. We're talking about a case where 2 people were killed inside of a Fairfax County home. This was in February of 2023, February 24th. Juliana Peres Magalhães, she's arrested several months later in October of that year. So October of 2023 is when Juliana's arrested, charged with murder. It's not for another year, September of 2024, that Brendan Banfield, Christine Banfield's husband, is arrested and charged as well. And then a month later is when we see Juliana take that plea agreement. A lot of the conversation there today was about that timeline. Brendan being arrested in September, Juliana being arrested or taking the plea deal in October. Your initial thoughts when you're listening to this coming on?
Well, interestingly, today, a lot of the focus is on the investigation that was done by the police. And it appears that what the defense attorney is trying to do is what most defense attorneys in this sort of situation would do, which is cast doubt on the integrity, thoroughness of the police investigation. So this morning, for example, we heard testimony from Leah Smith, who is a detective. And at one point, she used the phrase that she felt she was being essentially pushed to adopt a certain narrative that her supervisors were pushing, that she had to get behind the narrative. This, for a defense attorney, is very important. You know, we remember from the OJ days when they said that there was a rush to judgment. Well, in this case, there would be kind of a rush to a foregone or a theory that was favored, okay? So that is kind of the theory. And I remember hearing that Carroll, the defense attorney, at one point had termed this case one of a theory in search of evidence, right? So the more that he can do to build up the idea that the investigation was not thorough, that the investigation was biased, and that it had a predetermined, pushed outcome, the more he's able to cast doubt on whether or not this prosecution case is viable, whether or not it meets that high standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So that appears to be what he's doing today. He's getting witnesses who are police officials or former police officials. And he's asking them all sorts of questions about, well, did you feel pressured in trying to reach certain conclusions? Did you pressure people to reach certain conclusions? Did you try, in other words, to have the evidence that had been marshaled match the theory you wanted? All of which is being used to suggest that this is not the sort of solid investigation upon which a conviction can be built.
Yeah, just trying to poke those little